of perspectives, thereby engaging in a nuanced dialogue with our fellow citizens.
Thank you, Nazir. We would now like to take this time to recognize our partners who, without them, we would not have been able to put this event together. So, first of all, I would start off by recognizing and acknowledging the Canadian Council of Muslim Women, also known as the CCMW, for providing us the support right from the beginning and promoting our event on their website as well as through their family and friends, and also helping us, guiding us and advising us to how to put the scholarship criteria together. In addition to that, the CCMW is also going to be helping us sift through the applicants. The women who are interested in applying for the scholarship will be directly applying through the CCMW website, and they will be helping us with the scholarship picking the candidate. Secondly, I would like to recognize Muslim Girl magazine, and especially the editor, Asma Khan, for again helping us out right from the beginning, advising us what to do, and also providing us financial support in making this happen and bringing the speakers to you. So thank you very much. Last but not least, I would also like to recognize Camp Cares, which is an offshoot of Camp International, which stands for Council for the Advancement of Muslim Professionals. And especially I would like to thank Room here for all her support in promoting the event. Thank you, Liz. Moving on, we would also like to recognize our sponsors that have again helped us financially to make this happen. First of all, I would like to recognize our platinum sponsor. Unfortunately, however, I cannot recognize this individual the way we would like to, because this individual has asked to remain anonymous. So thank you so much for your help and your financial donation. I'd like to thank our silver, we both would like to thank our silver sponsors, which is the Noor Center. Again, thank you so much for all your support and financial donations. We have 2 silver sponsors. We have 3 silver sponsors, and we'd like to thank each one of them as well for their support. Number 1, we would like to thank Mr. Wajid Khan, Member of Parliament, for his sponsorship. Really appreciate the financial support. The other 2 silver sponsors have asked to remain anonymous. So thank you so much for your donations. This is really thanks to all of you that this is coming together. At this time, I forgot to mention this earlier. I also wanted to mention that Ryerson Students' Union has decided to redirect their support to other initiatives that are more closely aligned to their mandate at this time, and therefore they're not our partners for this fundraiser. Moving on, I would also like to share with you a little bit about the scholarship that we are planning to put together. So the money that is raised through this event, we are going to be donating $5,000 of bursary to a young Muslim woman who is interested in pursuing a career in the media or journalism. Any funds that are raised above and beyond this amount shall go towards the scholarship for next year in the same fields. Also, we have put together a committee that is going to review the applications, and the committee includes journalists, academics, Muslim Girl magazine, as well as a few board members of the CCMW. So, with having said all that, I'm actually going to hand over the podium to Nuzet, who is going to take you through the speakers who I'm sure you're all very eagerly waiting to hear. And once again, I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming out and providing your support. and we look forward to having you and even more people to our fundraiser next year. Thank you.
If there's anybody at the back who hasn't got seats, there's lots of room here. On the front. There's lots of, but the seats here are empty seats. Okay. I'd like to introduce the first speaker, which is Mona El-Tahawi. She was kind enough to fly in from New York yesterday. I had a little bit of a heart attack at the airport because I thought she wasn't coming. She was over an hour getting through customs, but anyway, she is here. She's an award-winning syndicated columnist and an international lecturer on Arab and Muslim issues. Before she moved to the US in 2000, she was a news reporter in the Middle East as a correspondent for Reuters. And she reported from the region for The Guardian, US News and World Report. Since she moved to the US in 2000, her views on Arab and Muslim issues have become sought after by producers and college campuses alike. She has been a guest analyst on ABC Nightline, Good Morning America, PBS Frontline, BBC TV and radio. In 2006, the Next Century Foundation awarded her its cutting-edge prize for distinguished contribution for the coverage on the Middle East and in recognition of her continuing efforts to sustain standards of journalism that would help reduce levels of misunderstanding. She was born in Port Said, Egypt, and has lived in the UK, Saudi Arabia and Israel, and is currently based in New York. Please welcome Mona El-Tahawi.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, and good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank Muzhat for inviting me to speak here. I'm very excited to be here today. And I'd like to thank all the sponsors and the other organizers for putting together what I think is a crucial event for young women today. Now, I knew when I was 16, I realized I wanted to be a journalist when I was 16. And initially, my reason for wanting to be a journalist was quite silly, because I wanted to interview all the pop bands that I liked. I thought, being a journalist, you could go and meet, the Police and Wham and all these people who talking daily. But I realized how important being a journalist was when my family moved to Saudi Arabia. Now, as Nusrat mentioned, I was born in Egypt. My family moved to the UK when I was 7, and then we moved to Saudi Arabia when I was 15, and my world literally turned upside down. For those of you who've been to Saudi Arabia, you understand what a challenging place it is to live, and what a challenging place it is to be a young Muslim girl. And I think, besides the silly reason of wanting to interview Sting and tell him how much I love the Police, I wanted to be a journalist because I realized that it would give me a voice, and it would give me the power to travel that I felt I didn't have in Saudi Arabia. It was a very difficult time for me in Saudi Arabia, but it made me the woman I am today. And I have to thank university professors at the University of King Abdulaziz in Jeddah, which is where my family moved to, because some renegade professor there put some books on the university bookshelf that literally changed my life. And these books were feminist journals that introduced me to the work of Muslim women scholars like Fatima Mernissi, the Moroccan sociologist, like Layla Ahmed, an Egyptian-American scholar of Islam who was at the Divinity School at Harvard. And later on through my work, I met women, wonderful women like Rifat Hassan, who many of you might know is a Pakistani-American scholar of Islam based in Kentucky, at the University of Louisville in Kentucky. And besides this need to get a voice out, I also began to feel that, I was really fed up. Every time I turned on the television or opened a newspaper, of seeing someone else's idea of what a Muslim woman was. Because that Muslim woman wasn't me. Because another essential lesson that I learned in Saudi Arabia was that there are many Islams. There isn't one Islam. My family moved to the UK when I was 7 because my parents are both doctors. And one question I would always be asked, in the UK and many years afterwards was, what does your dad do? As if, my family moved because we were just following my dad around. But I was very proud of the fact that my mother was a doctor also. And we moved to the UK so that we could both get their PhDs. So I learned at a very early age that people have assumptions about what a Muslim woman is. And they want those assumptions to be met. But I'll be damned if I meet those assumptions. And that was one of the reasons that I wanted to be a journalist. Because I realized that one of my main missions in life is to confuse people. If they have an idea of what a Muslim is, I'm going to get out there and confuse that idea, because there isn't a single idea of what a Muslim is. And if you look around here in this wonderful room with all this great gathering, there isn't one person you can point to and say, this is a Muslim, because someone next to them will say, well, I'm a Muslim too, and I don't look like you, I don't sound like you. I honestly don't need to tell you this because you know, because you're members of the community. But people outside of our community don't know. And usually when I give these kind of lectures, particularly to largely non-Muslim gatherings, I tell them I want them to imagine that I have two people standing next to me. On my right-hand side is angry bearded Muslim man, and on my left-hand side is covered in black Muslim woman. Because unfortunately, those are the two caricatures that when you turn on the evening news, you will watch representing me and you. And they're usually burning something, and they're usually very angry. It's usually the American flag, the Israeli flag, or an effigy of George Bush, and preferably all three. We've introduced Denmark and the Netherlands and anyone else who dares to offend Muslims. And you turn on the television and you see this, and this came home to me when I was taking the train one day. My story is all over the place, because this is the story of Muslims. There isn't this neat narrative line that we follow, because our stories are all over the place, and I like to confuse, like I said. So one weekend in New York, I was speaking at a conference for young Arab American professionals. And I had a great time talking to all these young Egyptians and young Syrians and young Lebanese who were very, very comfortable being both Arab and American. And then I spent the rest of the weekend with an American Muslim friend of mine who's of Pakistani descent. She was my best friend in Saudi Arabia, so we suffered some of the worst years of our life together. Great bonding. And at the time, in the US they have this thing called, I don't know, March fever, spring fever, something to do with their college basketball teams. And my friend's husband and her children were sitting there filling out their favorite basketball teams. I had no idea what they were doing. I have a UK background, so they were explaining it to me. Anyway, they put me on the train. I was very happy. I had a very inspiring weekend, talking to people who, like us, very comfortably straddle these multitudes of identities. And on the train, I was relaxing by reading a book. This is from DC to New York. And I heard this conversation that began with these people. And you can guarantee that any conversation that begins with these people is going to end disastrously. Someone is going to become offended. Lo and behold, this woman behind me says, these people, they fly planes into buildings and nobody says anything. And then a cartoon and they go crazy. What's wrong with these people? I thought, okay, I just want to read my book. I'm so tired. I just want to go home.